Is there now a requirement for print service providers to get their e-commerce websites online quicker than before? And what is second generation web to print? Let's find out in today's episode of the PrintPod, the need for speed. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for joining us on the PrintPod. So you've been with us at Infigo now for about 8 months. Before we look at what you've seen in those 8 months, could you give us some background into your history in the industry and where you've been and gone?
Yeah, no problem at all, Chris. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to be in the print industry since the age of 16, so I know nothing different really. It's been my day one to present day, so yeah, I've been very lucky to work at some fantastic companies along that journey, like GMG, ESCO, and also Print IQ more latterly, and now at Infigo. So yeah, my background is pretty much all the technologies, and I've seen all the changes, film to CTP to digital presses, then to more advanced litho presses, and then more recently the industrial sort of change in regards to digital matching and being comparable now to litho. So, and also software, that's what I do. I've always loved software, always been hands-on, and worked in with workflow and automation solutions, and really that's the geek in me. That's what I enjoy doing.
Software geek.
Yeah, software.
Like that. And in the last 8 months then, Paul, I mean, talk us through a little bit. It must have been quite a busy 8 months because things move very fast here at Infigo, as you've seen. Talk to us through a little bit about what you've seen and what your feelings are on the market as it stands.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, joining Infigo was a choice that I made because I could see the innovation that was going on within this company, which excited me. As I mentioned earlier, software geek, and I can see the benefit that can have to a business. Thanks to yourself, you put me on many planes and we've travelled the globe sometimes together, which has been fantastic. We've attended many events. We're seeing huge changes now. So, as I said, the exciting thing for me is the innovation that's coming from Infigo with the team behind the logo. Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things for me that I'm very proud of at Infigo is the way we integrate and work with our partners. And it seems to me a no-brainer with yourself that you've got this understanding of MIS and especially Print IQ and the benefits that particular MIS provides. And of course there are other MISs as well, but my point being is you've got the understanding of both sides of the fence. Have you found when speaking to customers and prospects that actually you can give them a more rounded understanding of how the workflow should be because you've seen what needs to happen once the order's been processed? I mean, to me that seems to be like a massive addition to the services that you're providing them.
Yeah, it is. You know, a lot of companies are looking at changing themselves, so they are reinventing themselves in some degrees. Others are trying to catch up with chasing pack, and others are looking to streamline and automate what they're doing. So yeah, definitely from the MIS world, I was really quite surprised when I joined Infigo how in depth Infigo is, and I would actually compare Infigo's technology stack to be as intellectual, integratable as an MIS platform, which I was blown away with. So yeah, my background of being software based and being MIS previously, and having those conversations with companies, which maybe the technical director or staff in the business or the owners, being able to relate the value between an MIS and the web to print side and how they join together through automation. People, you see the lights go on because they can see they've got half of the story already made in their head. As we all know, people nowadays, they're already part of the way there in their investigation because of the internet. They're pretty much whittled down 10 systems down to maybe 2 or 3.
Okay.
And it's our job, and I see it as our job in the industry to provide that support. And you know, at the end of the day, companies may not go for Infigo, but as long as we give clear and concise information and advice and help them make that decision, then yeah, definitely that knowledge of understanding how an MIS links to web to print, and then also nowadays back to the MIS,
right.
And then also out to third-party systems.
Yeah.
We are solution providers.
Yeah.
And anyone who's in the software industry nowadays, I think it's only fitting and right that you have to be a solutions-led individual. If not, are you offering the full value to that business when they engage with you? Maybe not, but definitely having a rounded approach definitely helps.
And I guess also they won't receive the ROI on that software investment if the other pieces of the jigsaw don't connect.
Yeah, correct. And push Infigo to the side. Automation is key for any business nowadays, and it's not a word that should scare people. No. In the past, it was very much people would be worried, but I think mundane tasks now you should look to automate as much as you can, because it allows your staff, your team, to then focus on the higher value jobs, which is critical for any business, because normally that's where the GP comes in, so the margin is made in those higher value jobs.
Okay, and one of the main, and you talk about margin and high value jobs, and we're talking about obviously return on investment, and that's ultimately what we're here for, is to provide that to the the print service providers. One of the questions we wanted to sort of cover, topics actually we wanted to cover today, was the need for speed, the need for getting the print service provider online quicker, and maybe even going back a step, is there a need to be quicker to get online? To me, I'd say yes, because I'm impatient, and I expect an Amazon experience for every purchase online. But what's your thoughts on that, and what are you seeing when you're speaking to prospects?
Yeah, it's an interesting one really, because in the 8 months I've been here, we've had hundreds of interactions with customers already. And there is a desire to do something and add a software piece, and there's always a timescale against it. And there's an imaginary, let's just say, yardstick of say 3 months as a point. And after that 3 months, people do get very emotional because we've not hit that deadline or we've not gone live. So that's definitely a focus that all software providers need to be clear on, because it can get very emotional because a company has invested, we haven't gone live.
Yeah.
So for me, in the sales arm of Infigo and leading that charge, what we are doing as a team is feeding back to the development team, the customer services team. We're also seeing this as well, and we're actually trying to shrink that down. So the one thing we are trying to do, and you mentioned the need for speed, you've got to do things accurately, they've got to be done right. You can't just release and go live if you're not ready. But at the same time, we're trying to cut down that timescale now to whatever it may be for the size of a system we're selling. But essentially everything we're doing now is focused on that quicker delivery of the accurate, go-to-market ready system. Okay,
and I saw back in Print United in October 2022, not the one we just went to, just before you joined us, that our CTO Michael Zorner was demonstrating the ability to spin up storefronts in a matter of literally 5 or 6 minutes, which is quite impressive. And we were doing this on the booth, on the show Wi-Fi, which is very poor, as you know. But what else are we, or you guys as a sales team, providing to help speed up that process to get the PSP online quicker, taking orders?
Yeah, we've developed 2 new features really that are geared towards the customer and the experience that they have straight away. So one is to look more professional. So a lot of the things about Infigo that people will always comment on is that we look so fresh, we look so modern, we look technically capable just from the screen, which again is great testament to the software. But at the same time, we're also engaging with various customers who have skills in-house. So what we've developed is 2 offerings to the industry. One is called WeTeach. So again, if you have the skills in-house, if you have a team that can do CSS or HTML, then you have a program to follow, which is linked to our Infigo Academy, which again is amazing in itself. So that really is a self-sustained thing. You will go and do that yourself as a business with the team that you have and our support and guidance. But at the same time, we also offer a thing called WeBuild now.
Okay.
So WeBuild is very new to Infigo, and essentially it allows you to go to market with a predefined B2B or B2C coming very soon storefront. So it looks professional out of the box. We then give you a shopping list of products, and then within a certain period of time, that shopping list of products will then populate the storefront. So essentially that WeBuild option is an option that we can actually take over for you as a business.
Right.
So if you do have the pressures, don't have the team members or the skills in-house, we can do that.
Okay, so another pain point, challenge taken away to kind of speed up the process of getting them online quicker, taking orders, etc.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's interesting. So these packages, is that something that is available now, or is that something that, because Greg in our previous episode mentioned these and launched them, I think, to customers, and I think they've been received very well. Is this something as well now that we're pushing out globally?
Yep. So these new features, these new site skins and storefronts are available now. So the customer services team can promote those and sell those to existing customers, and we're also using those to onboard new customers as well. Yeah, so we are seeing a real array of clients coming to us with predefined prerequisites of we would like, and that's the thing that we're taking on board, and we're trying to adapt what we do to make it our standard or our norm now.
Okay, interesting. And the other thing, in a previous episode with Greg Young, our customer success director, he mentioned John the Plumber, which is a phrase or he uses to sort of describe the B2B offering and trying to get those sort of customers sticky and things. What are you finding the biggest sort of USP or the biggest hook when you're talking to people on how web to print can really benefit them? Is it the platform speed? Is it just the fact of being able to spin up a platform, or is it much simpler than that? Is it just a case of having a non-personalized product and then just having it reordering or reorderability on the fly?
Yeah, the sort of headline thing that I'm seeing now is simplicity.
Okay.
A lot of the time, a lot of systems are very, very hard to configure, hard to set up, hard to maintain. Mm-hmm. So you do need key members in your team that can actually say, that's my job, I'm owning that. So what we're trying to do now is listen to that feedback and say, okay, we need to make things simpler. Mm-hmm. As Infigo develops as a product, which it is doing at an immense speed, things are getting simpler. That's down to the pro services team feeding back to the development guys. Mm-hmm. And the development guys with their very aggressive roadmap of new features and improvements, that is being blended in to our rollouts that we do every fortnight, which again is absolutely unreal. A software company that's releasing a new version of Infigo, whether that be a fix, whether that be an addition, every fortnight is pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is pretty amazing. And I think it's something that we take for granted.
We do.
So sticking with the theme of John the Plumber, Greg made a really good point of this new kind of breed of I won't say printer, because there are no new breeds of printer, but to coin a phrase that Douglas Gibson had been looking at recently, is the second generation web to print, i.e. a PSP that's been looking at web to print before, but coming back to repurchasing it. Is this something as well that you're seeing? Is second gen web to print a thing in your mind?
Yeah, I think we came up with that at our last meeting. We're seeing probably two things or two headline things that are coming towards us in every demo that we do, which is our current system isn't good enough. It's taken us to a point, and we thank that system because we've grown. But at the same time, we want to do more things now. Okay. So I would say 90% of the companies that we're talking to are looking to replace current technology. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, credit to Infigo as a company, but we are sharing what is possible nowadays. Mm-hmm. So we're making it very attractive. We are almost acting like a magnet and pulling those second-gen companies in just to investigate. And I think when companies do investigate and they see what's available, that's where that second generation is coming to us. But at the same time, we're also seeing that need to offer a service to a customer base for simple reordering. Yep. And again, that has come at us from, I would say, two directions really. One with our recent CERM integration, the label market. It's all about reorders. Yeah. It's all about, we ordered this a month ago, last week, we just want to reorder. There's no interaction with account managers sometimes. and that's how people want to work. There'll always be the human interaction that will never go away, but at the same time you've got to make yourself visible, present online, simple to deal with, even simpler to reorder from. So question of second generation, 100%, we're seeing that every single day. People are looking to replace current technology, and there's something triggering that, and behind the scenes it's always the case of either we don't have the understanding, the capability in-house, our system won't do what we want,
yes.
It's automation, it's we've bought another press, how do we integrate with that? You know, Infigo has got an array of integrations with third-party systems, or HP site flow integration, just to name one.
There are many.
There are many, others are available. But yeah, so there's a real sort of underlying reason why companies are coming to us, but they do have web to print. So it's not as though we are seeing the late adopters. So
they get it.
Yeah.
They know it works. They know they want it. They're just not sure who's the right vendor.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of the time, you know, web to print maybe 10 years ago was seen as a gamble. Nowadays, I would strongly promote that people do look at web to print for the future of a business, because you have to have multiple revenue streams coming into a business. You have a sales team, you have the relationships. What about a web to print? And if you don't have it, because it's alive 24 hours, you know, with our solutions you can pre-flight and automate that pre-flight, so you could wake up to jobs that are pre-flighted and ready, sat on a press.
Nice.
Which is pretty impressive.
Or if you integrate to a shipping agent, you could not sit sat on a press, but it could be delivered.
Yeah, it could be.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, it could be. You know, it's a lot of digital presses nowadays. We're seeing the innovation in those. We're being asked if we can innovate into the front end RIP or the controller, the GUIs or the DFEs, etc. So we're being asked that for, you know, load the stock up, file lands, it can be imposed on the RIP automatically and pushed straight out based on the stock being loaded on that machine. So yeah, we are seeing that.
Do you think the kind of the demand or the increased demand of web to print and the understanding which you just highlighted that is now there is born out of the situation we saw with COVID? Do you think that sped it up a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. I think people had a lot of time on their hands, so they invested in things like MIS because that was a glaring omission that they neglected over the years, or web to print, or both. And in some instances, we even saw MIS, workflow, and web to print.
All cloud-based.
All cloud-based, being installed at the same time. So people did take that time. Challenge, I totally agree, was a challenge for everyone, especially businesses that were looking at the future and how does that look for them. But at the same time, a lot of them did use that time to evaluate where they were at present and where they want to be or where they need to be in 6 months to survive. Yeah. So.
Okay, and you touched on something, another USP I would say of a web to print system is multiple revenue streams. Give me an example where you've seen a PSP with multiple revenue streams and how that could look hypothetically.
Yeah, we've got a lot of instances where companies have got ideas, they've got their current revenue stream, but then they want to look at another market such as packaging. Okay. You know, and a lot of companies now are buying CAD tables to look at short-run packaging. It may be for a local company and it's only 500 of. And I would also say in that respect, micro print runs are also nibbling away at the label market, stickers, pouches, folding carton. And that is something that I'm very aware of at the minute, is that micro print element is creeping in more and more.
So is that a shift from 1 times a million or a million times 1? And that's something Richard Askham, I know, is sort of sharing a lot right now on different channels, that there's been a seismic shift where there's an expectation now for lots of ones rather than 1 times a million.
Yeah, I think we're seeing everything. I would definitely say though that the micro print runs appeared from nowhere for the packaging market and also the pouch producers. But that's definitely a case of back in the day, you would see warehouses full of stock. And if you go into a well-known retail store on the high street, you would always recognise your, I don't know why I'm saying Yorkshire puddings, but you would also you would always realise, there it is, there's the Yorkshire puddings, we've always bought those.
Yeah.
Now what retailers are doing is they're changing that design more frequently to try and catch our attention. So gone are the days where you'd have warehouses full of reels or rolls of Yorkshire puddings that were ready to be flow wrapped because they're recognisable. So you're seeing shorter runs now. So they may still produce the same amount over a year, but there may be more SKUs now. So I suppose you're seeing a bit of everything nowadays. I'd say a smaller element of the micro print runs, but they are coming even into the folding carton world and even into the point of sale merchandise world.
Excellent. And you mentioned Yorkshire. Do you spend a lot of time in Yorkshire?
Well, I'm on the other side of the hill. I'm in Lancashire, so I'm on the, I won't say the right side, but
Steady.
But no, I'm based Lancashire. But I used to. I used to spend a lot of time in Leeds on the M62. Huge amount of packaging companies in there and repro companies. So I'm well used to Yorkshire.
Okay. Today you're in the Infigo offices. You're introducing somebody to us all. Do you want to tell us a little about your new member of your team that's joined us today?
One thing we are focusing on at Infigo at the moment is scaling what we do, growing the business, and obviously with that you need people. So we've welcomed on board Ed Carney. So Ed joins us from Optimus. He's got an array of talent and a wealth of industry knowledge. So we welcome Ed on board. We're very lucky to have him, to be honest, because I know he was a man that was in demand. So we've done really well to secure his services. Really excited to get going, but part of that vision is to speak to more companies and provide that guidance and that solution sale that is needed definitely nowadays.
Is Ed's appointment similar to yourself, where you've got somebody that understands the industry, not necessarily from a web to print point of view, but they've been, again, I say, the other side of the fence. They've seen web to print and how it needs to interact with the other parts of the workflow.
That's the vision. So as I mentioned earlier, as a solution, as a consultant, you have to provide accurate information to a business. You have to be able to guide them, support them. And as I said, they may not go for Infigo, but we will be sat on the other side of the camera if it's a Teams meeting or face-to-face, and we'll be confident in the knowledge that we've provided the accurate or correct solution for that business. And you can't do that without industry knowledge. So we flip it on its head and say, okay, no industry knowledge, but great web-to-print experience. For Infigo as a company, on the myriad of instances or solutions that we get involved with, such as Atelier, an Enfocus switch, a Kodak workflow, Fuji, Agfa, etc., hybrid, you have to be able to consult and give accurate information. So that's the one where people like Ed fit the role perfectly. So when meetings are being held and people ask those questions, you can always say, do you know what, guys, I don't know the answer to that, I'll have to come back to you. That will always happen. But it's great to have that knowledge of, actually, I've done there, I've sat in that seat, I've run those jobs, I've seen them on a press, we've calibrated, we've colour matched, we've pushed that through an automated workflow, we've seen instances. It's always great to have that foundation of being sat in that seat. So we're very lucky to have him, really.
I think it's a massive point for me. We touched on before, I'm more from a marketing background, but I've always looked at print automation and the workflow. It's very, very simplistic terms. There's no point spending a lot of money on a press if you're not going to drive the jobs through to it. Likewise, there's no point buying an MIS system if you're not going to have the connectivity of all the data. There's no point buying a web to print system if you're not going to connect to the MIS system. And to me, it just seems as if we're giving a better service with more informative outlook and, as you say, consultative. And actually, it's a win-win because the ROI will be there on the complete workflow rather than just the one piece. So.
It's an interesting one for me because my background was installing large presses, big lumps of steel.
Hardware man.
Hardware, that then making it connect into a workflow.
Yeah.
So I always used to sit there and sometimes chuckle to myself, really, that a business would spend £1.2 million on a press, but then very little, and sort of question the software that would make that press do what it needs to do right first time. So it's always an interesting one for me that whenever a company would then come back and say, we're looking at a change to our workflow solution, the cost that you would share would be probably a 30th of the cost of the press, which makes it completely profitable if you push all the jobs down to it accurately first time. And it still today sometimes does that. But the one thing that software definitely does nowadays, and it's very easy to prove and discuss with businesses, is that ROI, reducing touch points. And the big one as well, which is a challenge, and it was a challenge for us to as well recruit, is people and the skills in the industry. People are migrating away from the print industry, which is a sad thing. And we applaud IPIA and BPIF, for example, running apprenticeships to try and bring that new talent in, because you have to have it.
There's 2 points to what you just said there. I'm going to go on the recruitment part first of all. It's hard because actually we don't position the print industry as a tech industry, and it is actually a tech industry. There's a lot of software involved, a lot of marketing agency approach to how we position, print automation, print marketing collateral. It needs to go for a little bit of a change, a little bit of a revolution, I think, to retain that talent or attract talent. But I'd like to think that companies like Infigo and ourselves leading the way in trying to change that mindset and how we're perceived, and that's the only way I think we can do it. But as you say, the IPA did a fantastic job. I think twice this year they've been to number 10 as well, so they're literally banging down the door to try and bring change. One of the things that was really interesting there, you mentioned, just going back a few steps, talking about when purchasing hardware, when purchasing software. I was blown away last year by one of our customers who, based in Canada, and I won't name any names just yet, before purchasing their Indigo, they came to Infigo and said, we are planning to launch X, we want to drive Y through X, so therefore we're looking at web to print, we're looking at MIS. And I said to the customer, I said, actually, this is so rare. And then she said, logically, why would you do it any other way? Why would you start to spend the big bucks on the hardware that sits at this part of the workflow when actually you should be thinking about these bits here? So I'm hoping that's the start of many seismic changes in the thought process of purchasing hardware after software.
It is, but the thing is, print industry, we've been renowned for, I wouldn't say having change forced on us, but things do happen quite seismically. With, as I said, going from film to CTP to digital presses, the quality will never be as good. And litho leads the way. Wow, what a change. You can class a digital engine now as an industrial engine. It can produce on the same levels and volumes as litho and the same quality. So it's been an interesting shift there, but you should always evaluate that front end, because essentially that machine is worthless if you're not feeding it with correct information in a lean or automated fashion. That won't make the job profitable, but it sure as heck makes the business profitable. It's a start, because it helps with your capacity planning, it helps with everything. So that's sound advice. Do look at that front end. And the thing is, nowadays as well, the cost to do that with the software isn't as big as people probably think. And you don't lose staff, you retain the staff, but it's just that the mundane tasks get automated. And that's the key thing that we're saying here, is that we can do that. Why take a user off his current job to then drag files around and move them into folders? We can do that for you. So that's one of the benefits. One of the many benefits
of automation.
Great.
Thank you, Paul. And then finally, I think I'd like to ask you one question, more of a personal question. What would you like to see, Paul Bromley, in the print industry in 2024? That's quite broad.
Wow, put me on the spot, Chris. You didn't give me this in the pre-interview notes.
Wasn't in the pre-briefing, was it?
I think I've seen many changes, and on the changes that have been made, you know, I think they've always been exciting. I think the biggest change that I would like to see is around automation.
Okay.
And I would say that fear factor, and out of my controls, we can only do what we do in our piece in Infigo and try and promote or share that automation piece. But I would love to see, because as I mentioned in the very first part of this interview, I've been in the print industry since 16. I'm passionate about the industry.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see companies struggle. So I think the thing for me is automation. I would love to see businesses allow employees to attend events, because I do think that COVID curtailed that somewhat. Allow employees to go out to events when they are being held, learn about automation, because the one thing I want to see change is people being scared of it. You have to embrace it, because the future of your business could depend on it. It's quite a bold statement.
Yes,
that,
it is.
But it could depend on that, because machines are getting quicker. You know, things can only be squeezed so far before you're just not competitive anymore for that type of work.
So what you're saying basically is, don't fear it.
Don't fear it. Yeah. Embrace it. You know, people do get a panic when you walk through the door and you mention the word automation in a meeting, and you think, wow, you know, will that be my job? No, it could actually secure your job. So, as I said, there's various solutions and methods where automation fits in. It isn't just web to print Infigo.
No.
It is workflow solutions. It could be automation on the press. It could be how you handle jobs in the business and push them through the dispatch department. So, I suppose it's a bit of a loose desire from me, but I think I've seen it far too many times where people do get very concerned with that word automation and consider it to be a buzzword or just a fad. It will disappear, it will go away. Sadly not, you know, and for a good reason. It will be at the forefront of my mind every time I talk to a company. How can we help you become more profitable with what you've got in place?
That's a great answer, Paul. Thank you very much for your time today and sharing your thoughts.
No problem, Chris. Thank you.
For the rest of the year.
All right, you too.